It's never been easier to stay informed or to be completely misled. We live in an age of information disorder, when even basic truth is disputed. A time when you can find proof for almost anything you want to believe. And that's the problem. Even basic facts are now up for debate. To paraphrase T.S. Eliot, we have lost wisdom by having so much knowledge, and we have lost knowledge by having so much information. So today, I want to talk about how we can find reliable sources so that we can better find the truth about current issues. And I also want to talk about the issues of echo chambers and confirmation bias. First, I want to point out the differences between reliability and bias. Reliability is about whether the facts are accurate. Bias is about how those facts are framed. Imagine a news outlet that reports every crime committed by immigrants, but ignores crimes by everyone else. Everything they say might technically be true, but the picture they paint isn't. Now, it's hard to find a source that is both biased and so reliable, because people who only want to help their side will inevitably start to stretch the truth or rely on other biased sources. They, like all of us, can get stuck in an echo chamber. This is where we are surrounded by people and social media posts that reflect our beliefs. Once we're in an online echo chamber, algorithms start feeding us more of what we already agree with. The more we click, the more it shows us things to reinforce what we believe, and the less we see of the other side. And because outrage gets the most engagement, social media ends up rewarding the loudest and angriest voices. I've put a link in the description to an NPR interview about this. Related to the topic of echo chambers, I found it interesting that in an article from The Guardian titled, "What Happens When a Group of Fox News Viewers Watches CNN for a Month?" a study is discussed which paid viewers of Fox News to instead watch CNN. By the end, many attitudes on political topics have shifted. This demonstrates how much our views are shaped by the sources of news we consume. People with views toward one side will pick news from one side, and their views will be echoed and magnified. But by exposing them to a somewhat moderate news source from the other side, some of their views begin to change. Too many people judge the reliability of a news source based on how they feel, or perhaps how their current news sources tell them to feel about it. It is partly because of this that some think mainstream media is less reliable than alternatives. It generally isn't. The real problem with mainstream media is cable news, which includes both liberal and conservative stations, and where most of the programs are more of an opinion show than actual news. Most primetime hours don't go toward hard news programming. However, the websites for these stations are often less biased and more reliable than the cable news programming itself. So how do we figure out what is reliable? Well, unless we have a lot of time on our hands to fact check, we have to rely on the experts. One group that I like is Ad Fontes Media. They are an organization dedicated to evaluating news sources for reliability and bias. They have analysts from the left and the right, and they have to reach a consensus on how they score the different news sources. I hope everyone will check out their free interactive bias and reliability chart, and I wish that everyone would stick with the news sources in or close to that top square. Another helpful thing is to make sure you get news from a variety of sources. As long as they are reliable, I think it could be better to get your news from a source a little to the left as well as one a little to the right. That way you keep some of the emotional engagement and advocacy while also hearing from both sides. So please check out that Ad Fontes Media bias chart, evaluate your own news sources, and get a good news aggregator app so that you can see headlines from both sides. I use Google News and Ground News, and I'm sure there are other good ones out there. And as always, I hope you'll choose to like, follow, or subscribe. Thanks.